this is my third kid. I have 3 children. This is my smallest kid. He's 6 years old. His name is Alkis. And this is, well, I cannot say my 4th kid because it has approximately 400 parents in the lab. It's a very complicated machine. But this, I think you have seen this even in the telecom advertisement recently. It's a little star. Actually, this is the most diffused humanoid platform in the world. There are 34 robots at the moment. And it overcame the Asimo from Honda. It overcame the Toshiba robots. So he really seems to be an exceptional breakthrough of the Italian community. But I want to tell you where we are now and where we go. So Alkis, my son, never stops with 1,500 kilocalories per day. Essentially breaks everything around without stopping, 24/24. And he has a very low energy consumption. He holds 10 to the 14 synapses. That's a mistake, not neurons, synapses. He holds a 3D structure for the brain, 75% water, approximately 10,000 interconnections among neurons, for a total power of 40 watts. This is the brain consumption. It can perform, like any other human, normal human, 10 to the 18 operations per second. I doubt everybody can do this in some area, but for sure in this room, everybody does at least 10 to the 18. Okay, on the other side, sorry, we have 10 to the 9 transistors. We have a 2D structure, silicon, like this. Each transistor is interconnected to only the nearest neighbor's 10 transistors. And you know by the Ohm law that the far away you go, the higher is the energy consumption. This does not happen in the brain. And that's why we pay approximately 200 watts to perform only 10 to the 8 operations per second, which is the cost of this computer. All the rest has to be done in a big server with a big supercomputer in remote operation and so on and so forth. As a matter of fact, iCab needs 1,300 watts for 2 hours operation, in which it does very little compared to my kid that can do by far more with only 1,500 kilocalories. And if you compare kilocalories and watt, you will find this ridiculous amount of power that the human needs to do much more than any robot. Even the best robot in the world does not compare. So that is the challenge. And I will show you where we go with this. So first of all, artificial intelligence matters here. Neurons versus transistors, electrons versus ions, adaptation versus interconnections. These are the 3 things that possibly are unbreakable barriers. Then there are a number of other technologies like learning adaptation, speech and audition, grasping and manipulation, biomechanics. I mean, the robot has screws, motors, cables, coils. We have fibers, ion-responsive systems, water conductivity versus copper. You know, it's a very different architecture. Actuation is completely different. So what happens today, if you take this very famous Kurzweil plot, this is a little bit science fiction, but I think Kurzweil now works in Google, so he's not the last guy in the world. And he said, if you see how computer grew up over the years, a good computer today performs 10 to the 8 operations per second. And if you want to do more, you need a big cluster, you know. So today you can do exaflop computing, but you need 35 megawatts of power. I think, Vincenzo, you know it because you built up a new computer center, and I'm sure you need kilowatts and kilowatts for that. Now, surprisingly, humans, they do 10 to the 18 operations per second at a very low computational cost. We can do the same synthetically, but we need 35 megawatts. So this is a big problem. And this is a supercomputing, this is the top 100 supercomputer map. And you see now we have this Cray XT5, and there is this super Whooper computer in China, exaflop machines, but they just need 35 megawatts of power. So again, this has to do with what I told you before. If you compare the brain of my kids and the brain of the robot, those numbers essentially are the basis of this difference. But there is also something much more advanced that we should never forget. This goalkeeper doesn't know anything about physics. He doesn't calculate air friction. He doesn't calculate aerodynamics. He doesn't know anything about the initial speed, gravity attraction, spin. He doesn't know anything. He just sees the ball, jumps, and he will touch the ball with the hand at the right place at the right moment. He doesn't know why, but he does it. If you want to do the same with a supercomputer, because you need a supercomputer, You have to do a variational calculation of the best trajectory, minimize time, space, considering all the boundary conditions, and setting the best trajectory to be at the right time with the right hand in the right position. Unfortunately, in doing this calculation, very likely the calculation will last more than the shot. So by the time the calculation is finished, the ball is in the net. So that's the point. And the reason is that in our brain, we are so much optimized by evolution that there are clusters of neurons that supervise completely different operations that are very synergistic. For instance, there is a cluster of neurons that are essentially controlling vision and controlling grasping. So the same part of the brain helps us in understanding what we see and help us in reaching, so controlling the movement. Another part is controlling the tongue, so the operation of the mouth, the speech, and the understanding of the words. So this kind of synergy is impossible to reproduce in a computer at the moment, primarily because of an interconnection problem, primarily because of a computational problem. And this is really, for the time being, an unreachable challenge in terms of technology. Neuroscientists, they know these things very well. They start having a fantastic description of the brain. And technologists, physicists, engineers like me and others, we are very frustrating. The more they understand, the more we see that we cannot reach, we cannot compete with the structure of the brain.